Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers third-party-ish knockoff review. In today's video I'm taking a look at the Toy House Factory Shadow Wave. This is basically the THF's interpretation, basically a bootleg of Masterpiece Soundblaster. I never got the original Soundblaster. I always wanted him, but I could never afford him. It was just out of my reach. I managed to get a hold of Ratbat separately. Somebody was selling him on Evil Bay, so I purchased one from there. Yeah, I never managed to get my hands on Soundblaster, and I heard good and bad things about the THF version of Soundwave. That was of course released at the same time as the kind of Tanaka Tony version of Soundwave, which I did pick up. So let's see what all the fuss is about. Top of the box, we've got the slight spelling error there. He comes with combinations. We've got a picture of Soundblaster there in his bots and cassette mode, and we've got the combination of graphic. And the product display. Now this states it is not suitable for children under 3 years of age, contains small parts. Customer information, please keep address and package for future reference. I think they've taken that off something else, because that really doesn't tally up with what we've got here. Comes packaged in a plastic shell with a set of instructions, very similar to something we would get from Bao. Funny that. There is Ratbat, there is the chest section. We've got the red on there at the moment, which is toy accurate. And there's the purple, which is more show accurate, and we've got the Energon cube, his arm accessory, and the gun, as well as a red Megatron. Right, here we have Soundblaster out of his packaging. He feels nice. He's a good solid piece. The plastic is pretty much what you'd expect from a high-end bootleg of a Masterpiece figure. Not a fan of the red chest as standard. Now I know that's how his toy was, but in the show he had that purple chest, so I don't know if it's possible to kind of swap this tape section out. Not entirely sure how that would work, or if it would work. I know we can add the purple section on the front, but in doing so really do bring that chest section out further than what I like. And we can stick the Decepticon logo on there, and of course we can also incorporate the Energon function to go producing red Energon this time. I mean, that can work either way, with or without said piece. I mean, it's nice they've included this, but I don't know if it really, I really would have preferred this to be red and this to be purple, and you can kind of place that on top, because I do like my animation accuracy. Before we take an in-depth look at Soundblaster, let's just look at the rest of his accessories. We have Redatron, was that what you call him, I guess, with alloy parts. We've got some die cast in here. It's basically exactly the same as what we'd get with the Bao Seekers, but red. So you can pull things off here. I can see that scratching the paint eventually, I think. And this section here comes off. And this slides down as well. So it is what it is. It's a red Megatron. We get the Ratbat cassettes, very similar to the original, very much like what you got with the knockoff figure. It is what it is. It feels pretty much identical. You've got some really nice tight joints in amongst there. Paint applications seem pretty clean, and there we go. Ratbat does exactly what he's meant to. If we just bring in the official model, a slightly different shade. The purple is slightly different. The face actually has more paint applications. We do have this black on the nose of the bootleg, and the ears are definitely a much richer purple. Obviously there's less wear and slightly more shine on the knockoff just due to the age of this guy, and we don't get a Decepticon insignia because I mean they wouldn't want to breach copyright or anything, would they? Going around the back, again the gold used is slightly different. It's actually more of a richer coppery colour. All in all, it actually feels on par, if not better, than the official. And much like the original, it perches nicely on Soundblaster's arm. We also get Soundblaster's gun, which we can just flip down the handle. And it's got the standard Masterpiece peg, so it'll fit nicely into the hands. Nice chrome finish around the tip. Something that I have noticed though straight out of the packaging, it has this additional section here which is designed to basically finish off the tape mode. It folds down and it fills that void that we're left with the official configuration. Now, unfortunately, having this piece on here, it looks nice. It's aesthetically not really damaging to its overall appearance, but we can't mount this or store it in the back section as you would in tape mode, because there's just not enough clearance between here and here. It won't sit, it kind of sits off to one side, which is a slight design downfall in my opinion. I mean, it's not going to really interfere at all with the articulation or appearances. It is basically just a hindrance when it comes to storing the weapons in his robot mode. And then, speaking of weapons, just finishing off, he does just have his hand attachment as well. Again, very much what we would expect from a Soundwave Soundblaster figure, done in this very nice high metallic silver. Here he is alongside my KO version of Soundwave. I actually prefer the KO version of Soundwave. I just like how they've done the joints, and I like the fact that they've added the articulated fingers. I've actually sold my official Soundwave. I need money for TF Nation, the convention, which is coming up very soon, so I'm clearing out some of the figures that I've got doubles of. And I decided to keep hold of the unofficial version of Soundwave. Articulation, the range is pretty much exactly the same with these. The heads can look up, down, left and right. The shoulders can come out to the side on a very soft ratchet in there. Back to the front with a friction joint, rotation at the bicep, double joint at the elbow, and the hands are much the same as what we got with the official version of Soundwave, where the fingers are all pinned and the pointing finger has an additional point of articulation. The waist can rotate quite freely, and of course we can slide this backwards and forward depending on the alt mode or robot mode. The legs can come that far forward on a nice ratchet and that far backwards. They can come out to the side on a very squeaky, unhealthy sounding friction joint. We've got rotation at that upper thigh joint, and we do have a 90-degree bend at the knee. There is die cast in these feet, which is always nice to see, and a nice high gloss black to go with it, and we get some nice pivoting upwards and downwards motion. The main difference between him and the KO is just the extra use of all of these ratchets on all of these joints and these highly articulated fingers. I mean, they did honestly go to town with ratchets on the KO Soundwave. Probably unnecessarily, but he does hold an exceptional pose. Here he is alongside the KFC twin cast. Okay, these two do look incredibly nice squared up against each other. It really does tick all of my Headmaster appreciation boxes, even to the extent where I'm not fussed about having the raised purple section on the chest, because it's actually quite in keeping with how KFC done their twin cast. If this is your first time seeing the mold, you can just flip the hands inside to reveal this tab section, and we can bring in the funnel, and there we go. That is Soundblaster's hand accessory in place. I'm not sure if it's meant to go up that way or if it's meant to go up the other way. I don't know, I don't care, I never use it. But yeah, that's how he looks. That's a very good looking figure. Fortunately, we don't have any light piping in the head, not that that's always a bad thing. You know, I'm not a great fan of light piping. I would have preferred to had painted eyes. He's just an all-round fairly good solid figure. Maybe I would like a little bit more resistance on the waist rotation, but that is me being somewhat picky. And although it's a bit of a squeeze, he can hold Megatron and he doesn't really want to go anywhere. Right, regular KO Soundwave weighs in at 11.6 ounces. That's 330 grams. Let's just see what a difference the die-cast makes in the Shadow Wave. I've removed Ratbat, I've removed his additional chest piece. Oh, there we go. 336 grams. That's 11.86 ounces. Right, let's just see how he fares up in his alt mode. To start off, let's open up the wrist flap again and rotate the second hand inwards so that we're left with his arms like this. You want to remove this tab section here. This is going to cover up the additional pieces, and we can bring down this centerpiece at the back of the neck, bring the head downwards, and then close that piece off. We can rotate this around, bring that down, and that will just slide in there nicely. Collapse his gun, push this piece inwards and close this off. There's a tab here. This is now going to pop alongside at the back here. That tabs in really nicely. Grab your funnel section and that's going to slide into the hole on his bum. Lift these tabs up on the shoulder, which allows us to bring the shoulder sections back, and they are just going to line up with this panel on top. Applying moderate force to the rear here and the top, we're going to pop the waist forward, the top backwards so it clicks out, revealing this section here. Extend this piece outwards, rotate the legs and bring them upwards. Bring that foot around on that double hinge, and the foot is just going to drop down, and there's these small groove in the front that's going to line up with this tab section on the rear. Slide this leg upwards, and as we bring it up, press this tab on the side and that collapses this leg down. There's a small tab and a notch here, so we push this inwards like so. The arm piece has a hole and there's a tab here that just lines up and corresponds. Doesn't really fit in there as firmly as I would like, but it does tab in nonetheless. We can bend this piece back on the double joint and that's going to come forwards, and this is just going to roll and slot into place accordingly. Come to this front section, bring it out, extend these pieces up on both sides, bring them around, and this is going to form the tape section which comes in and slides in. Oh, that's such gorgeous engineering. Props to Takara for coming up with this. I always loved the Soundwave Soundblaster mold, honestly have. Just shame on me for not getting the official one. There we go, that's all tabbed in as best as we're going to get it. Now you could have kept this piece on during the transformation, but I really feel that it highly hinders seeing where everything's tabbed. We can just bring these pieces out to either side like this and like this, and as you can see there's a hole just underneath his backpack section where this tabs in. There's a double jointed hinge here, so this will now fold down on itself and doesn't really tab into much. It just kind of sits there on the back there, but it does cover off this rear section and does kind of just tidy it up ever so slightly. Just make sure everything's pushed and tabbed in where it should be. Let's have a look at the detailing. We've got your standard details on the side here. You've got the slider which does not slide, you've got the various buttons on here, and again you've got the roller that kind of rolls, you've got your power supply, It's a standard Walkman. Right, now I do have 3 tapes in him, so let's just see if his tape function works correctly. I've got the eject. I think this is my laser beak, which is causing the problems here. This DKO laser beak does not want to eject.
This is not going to plan. How'd it come?
Demonic tape. We press the button at the front there and eject. Okay, and eject. That's not really working either. And apparently my official rat bat doesn't really want to pop out either, so let's just press the button one more time. You press the button on the back and it doesn't really launch it to the front. I won't go over this lip section. Yeah, I don't like that. That's not good. Right, so other than the fact the tape section doesn't really work, this piece here keeps falling off as well every time you're trying to fiddle around with his behind. Just kind of falls apart on you. It doesn't really tab in as well as the KO Soundwave. I really liked that figure. I liked how everything kind of tabbed in and felt extremely solid. And it doesn't have the purple front as standard. But other than that, at the end of the day, this is a cheap alternative to a masterpiece Soundblaster. And you are in essence getting a very nice looking Soundblaster, even if he's not as practical as one would like. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks again to the guys over at TF Direct for making this video possible. This isn't completely steering me away from the THF line. It's just not wowed me as much as I'd hoped it was going to. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, from myself and Shadowwave, goodbye.